Dulce, I'd love for you to just maybe share with everyone how you came up with creating the mandala methodology.
It happened. It was a moment of inspiration, basically. I think a lot of the times the best things that I have done, or I don't know if it has happened as well for you, is when you don't really think the things and they just happen. But of course, I had a lot of preparation because very likely, like all of you, when I started practicing yoga, I just loved it, and it felt like I was getting back into a part that I had lost somewhere, and it just brought me back together. And yeah, I just got so much inspiration from so many teachers that I just wanted to do more and more and more and more. Not necessarily, I didn't want to create a method necessarily, but one of my teachers actually, he pushed me. He was like, hey, like he was very sweet. He's like, you have a lot of talent, like go for it. Yeah, like don't get short on creativity, just following my routines. This is Edward Clark from Tripsichore. He created Tripsichore. And I studied with him, I studied with Paul Greeley, with Shiva Ray. I also had like 3 different teachers in here in Monterrey. And I also was big into shamanism. So I knew that I wanted to do more of the things that make me feel good. So that was yoga and that was shamanism. So, and I wanted to put the two together because Jamie inspired me. He's like, because at the beginning I was a lot with the chakras and this and that, which is okay. And it's a beautiful philosophy and I enjoy it and I teach it, but it didn't feel that unique. So Jamie was telling me that sometimes when we try to follow another culture, it's almost like going into a bypass of identity. So he's like, look, if you want to find yourself or if you want to create a system, do it following your culture, your roots, and the things that makes you happy. And that was the case. Um, I definitely knew that I wanted to create a practice that it was both yin and yang, because I knew like us as individuals, we are made of those two energies as the core of us. Sometimes we're more masculine, sometimes we're more feminine. And when we are not balanced is when the things can get out of control a little bit. So I knew that I needed a system that it was strong but yet soft, to integrate those polarities. And I was doing a lot of trainings with Paul Greeley, which is he's a genius. He's fantastic. His anatomy knowledge and the way he explains the goal of the yogi is very inspiring. So I knew I wanted to use his method as part of my yin, because also I wanted to help people pretty much be their own teacher. I wanted to get them into feeling like, you know what, like forget about the look, forget about the aesthetic, go into a target area, go into a sensation. How can I make myself feel? Yes, a muscle, but by learning to know how to feel in a muscle, later on you can also learn to feel other emotions and you can learn to feel deeper stuff. So I wanted to add yin yoga because of that, because I wanted the student to become their own teacher right away. I also, if you notice, when I teach, I give pretty much zero alignment cues, and that's the reason, because I don't know your body. I don't know where you need to put your foot. I don't know where you need to bring your hands in position. I don't know you. So, and I know there's guidelines and there's things, but we're so complicated and we are so unique that everybody is different, and it doesn't matter if you give a perfect cue. It's always not going to work for someone, you know. Like even Shavasana, there's people that their bot falls asleep in Shavasana. So things like that, like simple things like that. So yeah, my inspiration, it was to somehow be unique, to somehow also create a method of integration of the feminine and the masculine, but also the elements, nature. I wanted people to connect into nature. And one of the reasons as well of that is that I spent a lot of time with Maria. Maria is the lady that does the sweat lodges. And like I was saying, through shamanism, I start connecting myself into nature, doing sweat lodges with her. When you are like super, super hot, not able to breathe, you get out and then you suddenly appreciate air for the first time, you know? So the shamanic aspect brought a lot of appreciation into everything, being in ceremonies where they have a special place for the water, they have a special place for the food, for the earth. Everything happens around a sacred fire. So that also brought a lot of peace and connection to me. So I wanted to also brought that back into others. Yes, maybe with a yoga routine, but also with the invitation to start exploring their own cultures and their own rituals and coming back to the roots. Because at the moment we're so disconnected with so many information that the only thing that we can do is go back to basics, go back to nature, go back within. And if we cannot be outside in nature, we can recreate that sensation in us by having awareness on the qualities of each element and by honoring the qualities and to be able to one day have them too. For example, I have zero patience, you know. So for me, my challenge is always try to be slow, to lower my fire, like, because when you are not patient, that means you have a lot of fire. That means you are like, producing. So like my challenge is, okay, you know what? Your fire needs to get softer. Maybe I need to put a little bit of water. And it was very funny because I don't know if you guys noticed in the challenge for the fire routine, I put a song about the water. And I know that maybe people thought like, oh my God, why she put a song of water in the fire routine? But it was because of that, because it was for me. It was an intention for me that I was like, I don't want to be a crazy fire. I want to be a soft fire. I want to be a fire that gathers people around and that make people want to stay there and where you can cook very easily, you know, things like that. So yeah, that was my connection, my intention, reconnection.
And if you had to pick, what would you say is your favorite element to teach?
My favorite element to teach is air.
That's my least
Yes.
favorite to teach. Because
Yes,
I can
someone has
just
to do
tell
it.
that no one can breathe. I feel so sorry for everyone.
Yeah. That's the first mandala I did actually. That was the very first one. But that one, I don't know. I don't know if it's because it's the air element and or the movement of the arms. That one for me feels very subtle. Like yeah, it feels very subtle. And I encourage when you do that flow to do it very, very, very slow, almost to try to feel like the energy around while you move. For that reason is my favorite one, for the movement of the arms. It brings me to I think a higher vibration of subtlety.
Oh, and then okay, if you had to pick, what would be your least favorite?
Yes, as subtle as a drop back.
Yeah. Yeah, if you had to pick, Dulce, which would you say you like to teach the least?
Earth. And it's very funny because I am my fire, my personality is fire, and the opposite of fire in terms of psychology is earth, right? So it's very interesting that yes, my least favorite is my opposite or my challenge. Earthy people are very patient, are grounded, they move slow. I'm nothing like that. Yeah. So yeah, that's my least favorite. And also it brings a lot of pressure in a way, because that one is when I teach like normally a lot of handstands and things like that. So I think like immediately when I go into that routine, I go into like, oh my God, the pressure of precision. Also, that's big. That's big for, because in a way, us as yoga teachers, we are also performers. And every time that we read a class is you are giving a performance. Yeah. It's almost like you are giving a show
Mm.
where you don't want to make any mistakes. It's like playing a song. You like, you make a mistake, you are out of tune. It's the same in a yoga class. But you know, that's fire again. I'm being very precise. I'm being very, yes.
Um, and guys, feel free to drop any questions that you have for Dulce in the chat as we go. But I guess I want to know as well. I mean, how many people do you think that you have trained so far in your mandala, your style of mandala?
Well, I have trained almost 3,000 teachers in total,
Wow.
all over the world. Yeah. And in Mandala, I have been doing the Mandala trainings maybe like 5 years ago. And I do two a year, and I have more or less 40 people in each. So 80 times five, I have trained maybe like 400 or 500 teachers in Mandala.
Amazing. Yeah, and I feel like mandala just in the last few years has become so popular. I was living in London, so I'm in a bit of a bubble there, but I feel like mandala just kind of skyrocketed in terms of popularity, and it's popping up on all of the timetables. And then I kind of I'm in Ibiza at the moment, and I kind of say mandala and no one knows what I'm talking about, so it's kind of really strange. I thought that it was it's strange to kind of be explaining what it is for the first time. But I guess my question is, what are your dreams for the teaching the mandala practice going forwards? Do you want it to become as popular as other styles of yoga, where people know it all around the world, or do you kind of want to keep it contained? What's your kind of plan for mandala and your style of mandala?
No plan. I really don't have a plan. I just love teaching it. I really like to teach it when I do it with my friends, when I do it with Carlos, with Maria, with Jamie, like that whole combo. I think it's a beautiful operation of healing. I think it's like a machine of healing. So that's what I want to do. I want to create courses that create healing. If it's in person, online, or something, that's my goal at the moment. I also lately I have been doing a lot of ceremonies of different sources, and I want to integrate more ceremonies into the courses. Yeah, I want to be a factor of health in many, many ways. I really appreciate, and I actually, because I don't live in London, I only go there, I do a couple of trainings, and then I go to another city or something. I don't really realize, or I don't really know what's going on or how popular it is. And I think that's very good for me. I think it's very good, like just not to know, keep doing it, and keep doing it with the intention of creating healing.
Mm. I mean, well, it would be great to actually, if everyone here who's watching is dotted around the world, um, let us know. Is that what it's like in your city? Do you feel like mandala has kind of become so popular, or is it still relatively not unknown, but is it still a lesser known style of yoga? Um, ah.
Nice.
Mm.
Yes, it's low key. It's very low key. In London, it's big, but it's because it's where the yoga people was founded. That's where Jamie is. Mm-mm. Ay, Silvia.
Oh.
Yeah, you know what as well? I teach a the Friday class, there's a lady from Japan and she plays the recordings to her studio. And then she tags me, and I think it's beautiful because then I see that they are practicing like 10 ladies, from the recording. So I think also with the online, it's going to become more popular because now people can access it easier.
Mm. I think what's so interesting as well is, so Sandy says that she's the only teacher teaching it in Essex. And then Rachel says that people
Wow.
want her to teach at their studios in part because of the Mandala credentials. And I think that is actually so interesting as well because, almost gives you a USP and a niche, having the mandala training under your belt. Um, I know when I kind of put forward the idea of teaching a class here, just the fact that I teach mandala, they were like, okay, cool, we don't have that, so here's a class straight away, just because it's a style that nobody else is teaching.
Yes. Thank you, Silvia. Yes, she's good at handstands. Yes, it definitely gives you another, it's like, I call it's like give you a PhD in yoga. Yeah, it's another completely method. And it does give you a lot of creativity, not only, also because you have for routines that you can teach depending on the days of the week or something. Also, it's quite easy to modify. I think it's a great system personally. Yeah, and I also think it's a lot of fun. Like because
Mm.
I'm telling you, I don't have patience. Like I get distracted so easily. When I teach mandala, I cannot get distracted. Like, no way. I have to be 100% present because then you're teaching and you're like, oh my God, which leg, which side I am? Like, am I facing the front or the back? Like, also because I don't know if you have feel it, but for me, because it's so dancey and movie orientated, you almost get into a trance. So because of that trance is when you lose the here and the now and perhaps the instructions. Also, when I teach normally live, the reason number one I get distracted is because I see people enjoying so much. So I get into the beauty of the moment of like, oh my God, they are moving beautifully. And now I'm gone. Then I come back. The fire pulsation, the twisty twisty, Rachel?
Hi, Dulce. Those leg through pulsations, in like a side plank. Never gonna happen for me.
Yes, but it's so beautiful because I think um, it's so freeing when you know that you cannot do something and that you have to modify it. Like there's sometimes I used to I know yogis that they get obsessed with an asana like lotus or something, and maybe they don't have the body structure for it, but just because they don't know about a little bit about anatomy or something like that, they get obsessed and they get injured, they heal, they re-injure, they heal, they re-injure, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think with the mandala practice and practices where there's no rules, you can go anywhere and you can make it intuitive. So you really become your own teacher, which that's the aim of yoga, to go inside, to find the answers yourself, ideally. I know, don't worry.
So another question I have, I guess, is like, do you feel like having doing the training for mandala and becoming a mandala teacher can then teach you things that make you a better teacher in your other styles of classes? Like, because that's something I feel like I definitely found. It made me a lot more creative, whereas I think I was almost sticking to the rocket style so rigidly, and then doing mandala, it kind of tapped into this kind of creative side that I didn't think I had, and kind of impacts yeah, the way I teach in other styles of yoga. Is that something that is a thing?
Oh, for sure. For me, I think it has helped me to slow down. Like normally when I teach mandala, for some reason, I don't know why, I know why. I know that when you move slower, you need a lot more precision and you need a lot more strength. Yeah, because one thing is to throw yourself to an inversion, and another thing is to raise yourself to an inversion. So, because I have tried to make the movements very, very precise and very smooth and very slow and very feminine, now that has influenced my other styles of teaching, even rocket, even Ashtanga. When I do it, I do notice that I am more present with the breath. And yeah, of course, you become more creative and yeah, more free. Like even when I teach Ashtanga, when I teach rocket, I do not say alignment. But sometimes when you teach a practice that is more linear, there's no room for exploration. Like for example, Ashtanga is very linear, like right, left, other asana, right, left, other asana. So it's very, very rigid, and there's no room for exploration of joints or anything else. It's a great system, of course it is. But with the mandala, sometimes you are doing movements and then you reach a point that you are like, oh, I never felt that this stretch before, or I never feel this before. So why don't stay here next time? So I think it gives you more room of exploration that later on you can integrate into your other practices. So yeah, it will help you in terms of sensation. It will give you more room of exploration of sensations.
Yeah, and Rachel says, it's helped me to be more creative, and I now choose it as my main Vinyasa practice. Why not, hey?
Wow. Thank you for doing the challenge, Mary. Thank you. Yes. No, and I have seen it. It's beautiful. We do a training that is 10 days. And that one, like the beginning, how the people start practicing on day one and how they end practicing on day 10, it honestly, it gives me goosebumps. It's unbelievable because of that, because it brings the alignment is almost like having a box, you know, like you have a box. When you have alignment, it's like having a box and you don't get out of that, you don't get out of that. But then if suddenly you eliminate the box, you have a bunch of possibilities. Yeah. And because of that possibilities is when I notice that the students, I'm like, oh my God, I never did that transition before. But it's because very likely they entered from another way or from another perspective. Or normally they are used to entering to the asana from seated, and this time we enter to the same asana from standing. That's also one of the main things that I do in the mandala. I create a mirror. It doesn't look like we're repeating the same, but actually the whole practice is very repetitive. And we try to enter to the same asana from standing, from seated, from this, from there, from downward dog, to see from where you can perform it better. It's a very repetitive method, a very, very repetitive method, but for some reason, it doesn't feel repetitive.
So I'm assuming that everybody on this call is a yoga teacher. I guess my other question, because you're my other question is, how can we apply all the theory behind the elements to our yoga teaching businesses?
Oh my God, it heals relationships. It honestly heals relationships because we are all different entities and we are all feminine, masculine. Some of us are more feminine, some of us are more masculine. But on top of that, we also have all the elements within us. So some people are going to be more earthy orientated. So they are going to be very good saving money. They always arrive on time. They have insurance. You know, they always know what to do. They don't panic. They can be a little bit boring and monotonous. Something like that. But then you have other people that is water, and water people, it will be like public relationships. Yeah, they like to be around people. If you have a room of 100 people and someone is having a headache, they feel it. Like, oh, this person is not doing well. You know, it's like almost like mothers. Very, very caring, but at the same time, they can be very emotional. Yeah. You have other type of people that they are fired. So fire people are like me, like producers, entrepreneur, ideas. They cannot stand still. They always have to do something new. They have to go to the new restaurants, you know, like things like that. You have other type of people, they are air, and those are more in their head. They are thinkers, professors, philosophers. They are good solving problems. Maybe they can be distracted. They think thoughts and they struggle with emotions. So let's say that you have a partner, let's say that you have a couple, that someone is water and another one is air. Yeah. And let's say they have a conflict. So the water person is going to ask to the air person to feel. And the air is going to ask the water person to think. So immediately they are speaking a different language. One is saying thoughts, another person is saying emotions. So the chances that they get along or that they resolve the issue are going to be very unlikely because they are not even speaking the same language, right? So if we have that awareness that we all speak a different language, and if we just try to meet ourselves a little bit more in the middle and like, okay, I feel very, very, very emotional. Maybe I'm going to take a break and I'm going to try to think the things through. And maybe the air person can say, like, maybe I don't feel nothing because this doesn't feel rational to me. But if I was him or if I was her, what can he or she be feeling? So then immediately there's a commitment, or you are trying to speak the language of the other person. So that's when you can resolve a conflict, when you realize the differences of each and you try to make a commitment. But normally, because we're so controlling, we don't do this. We assume or we want for everybody to speak the same language than us. And I see it like, for example, with the yoga people. Sometimes I want to do something and I'm like, come on, guys, let's do this. And then I have my earth person and says like, okay, Dulce, like, when do you want this for? Like, for next week is not okay. Let's do it for the next month. And then you have the water person saying like, but how can we connect more to the people online? Like, how can we help people feel that connection, even though in these stressful times we cannot be together? And then you have the air person. Oh, I know how we can do it. I have this idea. And everything, it comes together by everybody working in their strength or in their element. Yeah. So when you have a company, ideally, you want to have the 4 people or the 4 elements in your company. And listen to this. This is very interesting. They don't even have to get along. They don't even have to talk that much because everybody automatically takes their role. Yeah. Of course, if they are in their center, more or less. Yeah. So then you have everything sorted. You have the logistics sorted by the fire, you know, like every single detail, or it will be like ¿cómo se dice mano de obra? ¿Cómo se dice mano de obra? The labor.
Yeah, labor.
Now, the labor is sorted by the earth, you know. The public relationships will be sorted by the water, yeah. And any ideas or any extra problems that come and that we need solutions, like kind of crazy, the air people are very good at that. For example, James is very air, and he doesn't do much in the company in terms of organization. But when we have a big problem, when we have a big issue, he takes care of it because he thinks about it from so many perspectives that he finds a solution. So actually, air people are very good resolving puzzles long term. They even enjoy it. It's like a little project. So yeah, I completely recommend it. Like if for your company, for your relationships, for everything, to have that awareness that we all operate from a different identity or element and try to understand that entity.
Just reading the comments.
I'm reading. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm reading as well, just to see if. Okay.
So yeah, I guess as yoga teachers though, most of us are, you know, one person bands.
It's exactly like the 5 languages of love.
Oh.
Wow, yes, they are starting to use these kind of systems in big companies, in big corporations. I do a lot of trainings as well with Tony Robbins, and he has more or less a chapter of this, but he calls it in a different way, but more corporate. But this system, yeah, is good for companies, it's good for your relationships, and it's also good for your yoga practice because you're doing a more holistic approach of everything. You're creating integration.
Yeah, lots of companies use other models, don't they? Yeah, like Myers-Briggs, or I did one when I used to work in ad agencies, was like called True Colors, and it's all similar as, you know, thinking about where you sit on the scale and who's in your blind side. So if you have conflict, it's probably because you just don't understand them at all. And they say as well, yeah, you should try and when you're making hiring decisions, is to plot all of your team on a board and find out where the gaps are, and fill it based on these personality tests. So what about if we work completely by ourselves? So what if we're a teacher and our business is just us, and we don't have any, you know, employees or business partners? In what ways can we get those other elements to kind of supercharge what we're doing?
Well, nature, like even simple stuff, like if you don't feel grounded, have a plant. Even if you have a flat with no yard or something, have a plant. Do practices, even things like drink coffee. I know that I don't drink coffee, but I don't mind if people do. But even like connecting with things that they have that earthiness into it, you know, like even put like a mud mask or something like that, pottery classes, something that makes you slow down. Like think about things, cook, like cooking. Cooking will be very good because cooking needs its connection with things from the ground, from the earth. Yeah, so you can do something like that for the element of earth. For the element of water, I struggle a lot with water, with noticing which emotion I'm feeling at the moment. So what I do in my laptop, I have a charter of emotions. So I ask myself regularly what I am feeling. Yeah, in a way, make yourself aware of feeling. There's also a wheel. If you Google, you can put wheel of emotions, and there's a wheel of emotions. You can make that your screen protector or something like that. Like just to remember yourself to go back to sensations and emotions. For the element of fire, it will be to have a discipline, a commitment, like something that you do every day. It doesn't have to be like something great. Like I have to do yoga 1 hour a day every day. No, like don't get stressed. Like begin with, I have to do yoga 4 times a week, 15 minutes. Like begin something that is doable, that is not going to cause you frustration because you didn't do it. You know, like little by little, but something that brings back discipline to you. Maybe as well, you can start writing daily, like priorities to complete today, and try to complete one a day. Complete one thing of your list, one thing only, like something progression, like focus in progression. How can you achieve more progression on your life? And for the element of air, you can try to get into things that make you feel light. So light can be singing, you know, you are raising the vibration. Also can be dancing, like dance one song a day. Write, read, stimulate the mind, meditate. And when you do these practices, the most important thing is the intention, how you do it. So when you do the practice, like think about the element, think about the characteristics that you will like to get. Like for example, when I do practices of earth, I want patience. So what I do is like when I do my air practice, I offer it like for all the moments that I don't have patience, I'm going to remember this moment. Intention, put intention. I actually don't know the name of the books. I have to ask Jamie, but I can ask Jamie, and then we can send a message. If you already put your email on the challenge, we're going to send a goodbye message of the challenge. I can add it in there. Yeah. So guys, do you have any questions? Because I have to teach a class in 15, well, in 14, in 13 minutes that you are free to join. You are happy, you can join if you want. You can also pass the link if you want.
And I guess, yeah, if you do feel like maybe there's an element that you don't connect with so well, could you, you know, find yourself a kind of mentor who is that element, or a kind of business buddy who is that element?
Absolutely. Yeah. Like believing in the power of osmosis. With who you hang is very, very important. Actually, is believe that what you put in your body and with who you hang are the two most important decisions that you do in your life. You know? So whatever like you cannot feel by yourself, get a body. Get a friend that is good doing that. Like, yeah, for example, for me, I really like to spend time with earthy people because I try to get that characteristic from them. Yeah, get a mentor, get a even think about someone that inspires you to do that. Like when I lose my fire and I'm like oh, I don't find inspiration or something, I put Tony Robbins. You know, and after like 10 minutes, I am all like, hey, yes, I can do it. I go back to that. I tap into that energy. Like try to see ways of persons that help you tap into that energy. Acne. Thank you, Annie. Yes, thank you, Mary. That's the books that I was going to ask Jamie. Thank you. Those are the ones. So guys, we're doing a mandala training. We begin on the 23 of November or something like that, 20 something. If you want to know more about the method and about the elements, it's going to be all live and online. You can send us an email if you have any questions about it. And I'm planning to do new trainings. I'm going to do a training with Michelle where we are going to incorporate dancing mudras, like very, very interesting. And it's going to be mudras for every element. So yes, we are creating stuff that can help you and assist you